Street Kingpin Hustlers, digital website. You want t-shirts and hoodies? I thought you might. Forget them all, I have it all here. I got all kind of colors to match your gear. Cream team, about to get that bread. Get rich or die trying, like 50 said. The money bag make it look real fly. Get it at the website, we on Shopify. We even got a game, a hustler's dream. When you go around the board, you collect your cream. This cash money got me stunting like baby. You can play against your boys or against your lady. Hip-hop hustles is the name of the novel. Street Kingpin, thug life, hip-hop Bible. Street Kingpin is here, and we ain't leaving. No need to waste your time even competing. StreetKingpinHustlers.com. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coming soon, novels and games. Street Kingpin, we about that money bag. Get it, get it, get it. Welcome to Street Kingpin Stories. This show is about Felix Wayne Mitchell, Jr. He was born on August 23, 1954 in Oakland, California. He was raised in the notoriously dangerous 69th Street Avenue San Antonio Village housing projects on the east side of Oakland. They called him Felix the Cat because he was so sly and cunning. He decided at a young age he would get him and his family out of poverty. As a teenager, he started selling heroin in his hood. His hood was infested with addicts. As the money started pouring in, he dropped out of high school, and in just a few years, he was the biggest drug dealer in the projects. As his business grew, he put together a crew of drug dealers. Most of them was his friends. He named his crew the 6'9 Mob, or MOB, which stands for My Other Brother. They ran the 69th Avenue projects like they owned it. He took care of the residents. He would buy them microwaves, give them money and food, so nobody called the 12 on them. And if the 12 did come towards the projects, he had kids all around the hood, even on the roofs, to look out. And if they seen the 12 coming, they would yell out. He paid the kids $100 a day. Felix made it his business not to let anyone into the projects unless they either lived there or they was there to buy drugs. Felix also began to set up shop in other projects in East Oakland and all across the Bay Area, and he was just 23 years old. He controlled drug supplies, dealers, and runners all throughout California. He was Oakland's biggest drug lord. As the leader of a heroin empire, he created the biggest drug organization in the city's history, and he did this throughout the 70s and the 80s. It is estimated at the height of his reign, he was making $500,000 to $1 million a month in drug profits. In 1976 through 1983, Felix lived the life of a millionaire drug lord, buying expensive foreign cars, clothes, jewelry, and throwing lavish parties. He had $2 million homes. One was located in Northern California and the other in Southern California. He became a local celebrity in East Oakland. He was a hero to some people. He regularly gave large amounts of money to local charities and community youth programs. All of this also brings rival drug dealers. So he went to war with competing drug dealers that wanted to take control of the heroin market, mainly Mickey Moore's crime family and the Funktown USA gang. In 1980, it was 7 turf-related killings in 3 days. This made the news, and the feds opened up an investigation into Felix the Cat and the 6'9 Mob. Eventually, 3 years later, they indicted and arrested Felix and 5 other 6'9 Mob members. At Felix's trial, the prosecutors blamed Felix and the 6'9 Mob for the 7 years of violence from the drug wars in Oakland. Felix the Cat Mitchell was convicted of conspiracy to sell heroin and for operating a criminal enterprise. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. All of Felix's assets and money was seized by the federal government. The 5 6'9 Mob members got convicted and sentenced to 25 years. On August 21st, 1986, 2 days before his 32nd birthday, he was stabbed to death in his prison cell by a fellow inmate at Leavenworth State Penitentiary. Well, this is what I heard what happened that day. Allegedly, Felix began hanging out with other inmates that was big drug kingpins from different big cities. Now I know Donald Sly Green had been to Leavenworth, but I don't know if he was there when Felix was there. Anyway, all the big time drug dealers would hang out together like in the yard and at chow time. One of the older inmates that would hang with them, he borrowed some commissary from Felix and told him to pay it back at a certain time. But the older inmate's time was up and he didn't pay Felix back. Some of the other inmates that was cool with Felix took it upon themselves to hold the older inmate over the chair and they was going to drop him. Felix said it wasn't that serious. You can let him go. Felix guys didn't drop him and they let him go and they went to the weight room. And Felix went back to his cell to get some sleep. 30 minutes later, Felix was asleep and the older inmate went in Felix's cell and cut Felix's throat with a razor and he bled out and died. Now for those who don't know this, if you get locked up, you have to pay what's owed. You already know. It's fuck you pay me. There's consequences. This is a violation. Maybe the older inmate thought that Felix would at some point get him. So he got to him first. This kind of thing happens in prison. Anyway, a week later, his funeral was held. They had all the proper permits filed for the parade throughout Felix's hood. He lived like a king, and he was put to rest like a king. He had 14 Rolls-Royce limousines trailing him to the church. He had a brass casket. His body was carried through the streets by a horse-drawn brass carriage. The community was divided. Some looked at him as a villain. Others looked at him as a hero. The feds was there to see if they could see who would be his predecessor. So they posted up with Felix's seized red Ferrari. At the church, thousands of people were turned away from the sellout funeral, but many would get souvenir programs. His family and his close friends said their final goodbyes. Now, if you think it's over, it's not. Now, this is the first story I ever heard of this happening. And listen to this. In 1987, following Felix's death, his lawyers argued that his drug convictions had to be reversed based on a law that a guilty verdict cannot stand unless the defendant is allowed to appeal their conviction. The courts agreed, and his conviction was reversed. Y'all not gonna believe this, but as a result, the government had to return to his family all the assets and money that was seized after his arrest. I never heard of this happening, but I bet you they took that law off the books. At this time, I like to say this to the addicts, dope fiends, crackheads, and pill poppers. Addiction is a disease now. I encourage you to seek help, take those steps, and take one day at a time. I'm going to leave you with this. We have allowed death to change its name from Southern Rope to Northern Dope. Too many black youths have been victimized by pushing dope into their veins instead of hope into their brains. Jesse Jackson. Street Kingpins doesn't condone drug dealing, crime, or violence. This lifestyle usually ends with prison or death. You can love the streets, just remember, the streets don't love you back. Like, subscribe, and comment. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Thanks for watching. Peace.